Hi everyone, it's Mary from Joyful and Mary Quilting, and today I'm going to talk a bit about a constantly evolving product in the quilting world, rotating cutting mats. These tools can make a world of difference when cutting and trimming fabric pieces and blocks, especially when it comes to intricate piecing. But not all mats are created equal. I'll be reviewing and comparing 5 popular rotating mats that I own and I have tested. First, the Olfa, Fiskars, Creative Grids, Martelli, and Classy Creations. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear idea of which mat might be the best fit for your quilting needs. I'll talk about the ease of use, whether or not the mat is self-healing, and of course we're going to compare some prices. So let's get started. First of all, we all know how to trim a block using a standard cutting mat and a ruler, a rotary cutter. We are going to trim this particular 4-patch to 3.5 inches. So I'm just going to line everything up, hold it steady, trim one side, and then trim the other. Then I have to reposition, so I'm going to turn my block around. Again, make sure I've repositioned exactly on this side, have my middle markings, hold steady once again, and trim. So that's our process for using a standard cutting mat. If we're using a rotating cutting mat, this is the Martelli mat. I've got my block lock ruler. I have my half square triangle that I'm going to trim to 2.5 inches. So I've lined everything up and I'm going to trim 2 sides just like I did before. But then, rather than repositioning the ruler and the block, I just give it a turn. Everything stays in place, and I trim again. That's the beauty of a rotating mat. So let's talk about the different options available. Okay, first up, we have the Olfa rotating mat. Now, it comes in 2 pieces. It has this piece, the back of it has a non-skid surface on it, and then this is smoother. You have a small disc that fits in the hole, and that's what allows the rotation to happen. You want to make sure you have put it together correctly, because if you put the non-skid surface against the mat, it's not going to rotate. So here, this works well. We have a 12-inch size, and we have a 17-inch size. The 12-inch size sells for about $40, $41, and the larger 17-inch size sells for about $80. And again, they're both self-healing. When it comes to the ease of use, the square shape makes it very versatile for most cutting needs, especially smaller quilt blocks on this one. It can be more accurate to carefully turn the mat rather than turning the block, as I showed you. It rotates smoothly. This one, the 12-inch, is really compact if you're working in a smaller space. However, the 12-inch size might feel limiting if you're working on a larger block and you can't fit the whole block on the mat. The Olfa does have a scalloped edge mat. I haven't tried it, but it actually has little scallops and it is round and it's easy to turn from what I understand. So you might want to check that out. When it comes to the self-healing surface, this is a huge plus because it keeps your mat looking and functioning like new longer, and it also protects your rotary blades by minimizing wear and tear. This is especially important if you're cutting frequently or if you're using high-quality blades. You want to preserve them for as long as you can. Now, when it comes to price, cutting mats are not cheap. None of them are, and it's a really good idea to invest in a good quality mat. In the end, it's going to last longer. It will keep your rotary blades lasting longer, which can be expensive. And price-wise, the 12-inch mat at $40 is really reasonable. Now, the 17-inch at $80 might be a stretch for some budgets. However, I'm often able to find a coupon, and we know that Olfa is a trusted brand. So that's the Olfa mat. Our second brand is the Fiskars brand. Now, I've had this for a very long time. It's older, it's yellow. They make them in gray now, easy to see, easy to mark on. But this is mine. Now, this one is a 14-inch mat. As you can see, that means 14 inches from edge to edge. It's actually 13 inches. But what I like about this is you can easily put a 12.5-inch block on here and trim it up. There's that little bit of extra room, which works well. Now, it sells for $28, which is really reasonable. You can get this. I did notice that it doesn't spin quite as smoothly as the Olfa, but nothing that would hinder your cutting. It still spins, you can still use it. You just want to make sure that you assemble it properly. You want to make sure that you have that smooth surface here and the non-skid surface on the back. Then you want to line up the disc just like we did on the other one so that it will be in position and you'll easily be able to turn this. Now, we also know that it has the self-healing feature, which is a good thing, especially for the price. It's great for maintaining clean cuts, and it really will extend the life of your rotary cutter. So at $28, this mat is a budget-friendly choice. If you're looking for something affordable without sacrificing too much quality, Fiskars is really a solid option. Our third option is the Creative Grids rotating mat. So this one is 14 inches by 14 inches. It's priced at about $51. The 14-inch square design is very similar to the Fiskars in terms of size and functionality. However, the Creative Grids mats have the added benefit of really clear markings, which are fantastic for precise cutting. You can see the markings are all the way down to the 1/8 of an inch. One feature that I want to show you that does not work on the other mats is this particular feature where you can actually use the Creative Grids mat and spin your ruler when you are cutting, which I really like. There are occasions when I've had to do this. So if I'm going to square up this particular block, let's say I want to make it a 6.5 inch block, I line everything up, and if I'm going to go ahead and cut, I can cut the two sides like I normally would, but then look what I can do. I can actually grip the fabric with my Quilters Select ruler, which has the adhesive on the back, and I can spin it around. Now, if I'm using a regular Creative Grids ruler, I can't do that. But the Quilters Select ruler in combination with the Creative Grids mat or the Quilters Select mat, they also have mats as well, I just don't have one. You can take that and you can actually spin it yourself if you're doing some and you don't want to do this. So it works, it has two ways that you can actually trim your block. I really like that feature. Once again, this is a 14-inch by 14-inch mat, but working space, you can't cut all the way up to the edge. So probably, 13 inches, 12.5 would work well. We have a lot of 12-inch blocks that are 12.5 unfinished. This size is perfect for that. Now, like the Olfa and the Fiskars mat, this mat is also self-healing, so it really holds up well over time and it keeps your cuts clean. If you're a quilter who appreciates precision, this feature is really essential. And again, I like the way that I can either spin my mat or I can spin my ruler depending on the need. When we talk about price, at $51, this is definitely an investment. It's pricier than the Fiskars, but in my opinion, I really like the added quality, the versatility, and I think the precision really makes it worth the price. It's sturdy. When it comes to assembling this, it's the same thing just like the others that we've talked about. We have a smooth side that we want up. The non-skid side is against our cutting mat, and then we have that disc that fits just right in the hole, and that's what allows us to spin the cutting mat. The next mat we're going to talk about is the Martelli roundabout set. Martelli has two different sets. They have the 17-inch, this is the larger size rotating mat. Then there is also a smaller 12-inch in diameter size. The 12-inch size sells for $96. The 17-inch size, this one, sells for $110. Now that includes the mat and the Lazy Susan turntable. There is a non-skid surface on this side of the mat. It goes on top of the Lazy Susan, and that keeps it from moving off when you are turning it. Now, one of the things that I really like about this mat, and I showed you in the intro, is that I can easily turn it with one hand as I am trimming. So if I am holding my ruler and I'm ready to cut, I can just do this and it turns very easily as I'm trimming my block. I like that feature. It has a 17-inch size, but that's diameter from here to here. If you look, the workable space actually on here, maybe 10.5 if you're using a square block. Now, if you're using a round block or you're using any kind of intricate blocks that are smaller, again, the feature, the turning feature, I really like that. When it comes to the ease of use, The other positive point is that you don't have the corners, so that when you turn, you don't have to worry. You can keep this mat close to you, all the way up to you as you're cutting, which I think makes it a little easier to use. When it comes to the self-healing feature, this is not self-healing. These mats are not self-healing, which means you will see more wear and tear over time on your rotary blades. They may dull faster. So that to me is a bit of a drawback. As for price, at $96 for the smaller mat and $110 for this one, this really is a premium product. You're paying for the unique design and the multifunctionality. It's very accurate. It's definitely on the higher end, but I still love it. I still use it all the time, and I think it is a good product in spite of that self-healing issue. Finally, we have the Classy Creations turntable. It's rectangular, which is different. I haven't found anything that's rectangular. It measures 12 inches by 18 inches. Now that includes, on this you can see, the markings go to 16 and to 10, but the entire mat surface is 12 by 18. It's pricey. It's priced at $179.98, and it does have an option of adding a pressing mat and a ruler. Now, when it comes to ease of use, the rectangular shape really is ideal for larger cutting needs, and it really offers more space when I'm going this direction. So if I'm doing strips, if I'm doing something that I need a little extra room, but I still need to cut and turn, for example, if I'm doing strips where I am cutting triangles or I'm cutting any kind of odd shape, this is your go-to. It works really well for that. It's also good for some bigger blocks or fabric pieces. But again, we are limited with the size in our vertical direction. This mat is self-healing. Actually, when you purchase the system, the mat comes two-sided. It's got this blue side and then it has a pink side. It also has this non-skid pad that you put down on top of the turntable before you add your mat to it so that it doesn't slip. Taking a look at the turntable, it's really heavy. It's very stable. It has this surface. The Lazy Susan is actually underneath. It makes for easy turning, but it's not going to go anywhere. This is very stable. So when you're using it, you'll put the turntable down, then you'll add that non-skid mat, and then you will add your cutting mat, and it's very, as I said, very, very stable. Now, again, self-healing, which means our blades last longer. It's useful for quilters who, like I said, we have a different project. We're not just squaring up square blocks, but rather we have the option of using strips and pieces that we're cutting, and I love that feature. Now, when it comes to price, $179.98, this is really the most expensive option. Although Classy Creations has coupons all the time for discounts, and I got mine at a discount, which I felt was very worth it in the end. If you need the additional space, and you are doing a lot of, as I said, strip piecing or trimming your blocks, this is really a great option. So there you have it. Each of these rotating mats has its strengths and its weaknesses. Whether you prioritize size, self-healing surfaces, or budget, there really is an option for everyone. If you're just starting out, the Fiskars mat is a great entry point. For quilters looking for precision and durability, the Olfa or the Creative Grids mats might be your go-to. And if you want a multifunctional tool, the Martelli or the Classy Creations mats really could be worth the splurge. So let me know in the comments which mat you're most excited to try, or if you've tried one and how do you feel about it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell for more quilting tips and tutorials. Until next time, I'm always trying to be joyful, but I will always be merry. Thank you for joining me.